highly recommend when you get this, I've already done it. I've gone around with isopropyl to make sure there's no residue on this, but please wipe this down before you install it, because if there's any kind of residue, it gets in the way. You won't be able to get this to stick on there. Things I obviously didn't include in this kit were razor, scraper, isopropyl alcohol, but you're gonna need all of the list of these things included in the package to help you install this. Here's Tony's super clean kooky. Right hand drive and everything. This thing is amazing. He was also pretty lucky to get a pretty new condition sunroof seal for this thing. Definitely the cleanest I've seen. So between a car with no sunroof and this one, I was actually able to get the measurements really spot on. This is the seal finally installed on the car. This is actually without sealant, so it's tight enough to make these curves and sit there, but it's not loose enough to the point where it doesn't seal. So we've already pre-cut this section, wrapped around the whole car, but you can see you just got to clean your track, and you push this down, give a little pull at the same time, and this groove designed into this right here will fit into the groove down below. Press it into place, and we still have a little extra here. So don't want it to be crazy tight, but honestly, tighter the better. So I strongly encourage you sit this here for a day or two, and you can even heat gun this thing. Super resilient, you don't have to worry about burning it, but it'll actually hold its shape around the corners. So when you go to actually get this thing sealed on there, it won't start popping up the edges like this, because wherever you are in the world, this thing's going to be shipping thousands of miles. So it's going to be coiled up. It won't exactly have this shape, but it'll be ready to install. I'd recommend wiping this down with isopropyl alcohol right before you install, and even as soon as you get it. You just want to make sure this is as clean as it can possibly be, because in manufacturing, this might have a little bit of oil on it. I've already wiped this down for you in the packaging, so you don't have to worry as much about that. I already inspected every single one I've packaged. I would definitely recommend using either a plastic scraper or basically just a sharpened screwdriver. Get all your old sealant out and use alcohol, whatever cleaning material you'd like. But if you really like to, you should mask off this area on the car. Really don't want to scratch your nice paint, but basically I'm just going through cleaning the whole track like this. Get it in this groove too, and just make sure everything's completely clean. And then you can get a vacuum in here with a tube on the end and just vacuum everything out. And carefully mask off your area. I would take some Scotch-Brite like this and just Scotch-Brite the area kind of light. It doesn't need to be all the way down to metal, just has to be pretty clean. But the cleaner the better for sure. After Scotch-Brite scraping, it's time to really clean this thing. So we're going to use the isopropyl alcohol and just fold this up a little bit. Just going to go into the track here, back and forth, until there's basically no more residue left, but you can see how dirty that is already. So I'm going to do this a few times everywhere and make sure there's no extra debris left. Going to get a really good seal on this. And now we're all set with our isopropyl alcohol. Put that over here. And we're going to cut the nozzle off the silicone. We're just going to run a nice even bead through this whole thing. Basically almost fill up that whole cavity in the bottom. This way it actually gets all the way up to the edge of the window and it goes all the way down to the corner. Then once you run a bead around all of it, just kind of run your finger through and just even everything out, any air pockets in the way, and then this will actually help save you some material, some high spots, low spots. Give yourself at least a day with the seal curing with this stuff. you'll lay the seal like this with the connecting end over here. How I start this is I give myself a little room over here. I start right in the middle on one side. I like to start over here like this, on this halfway point on the side. I don't want to put the piece in the middle either way, because if the wind catches this or anything else, it might go from there, but it's really up to you. It's either on the side or the back, definitely not the front. So I'm just pressing straight down into this just a little bit. Should see some sealant come upward at the window. Should also go down. There is a key groove in this to help hold this into place. So don't worry about lifting in the corners too much right now. We're actually going to weigh that down for curing. We're also going to have tape to hold that in. Be pretty careful your other areas don't touch ahead of time. Very important note, I think I mentioned it before, but you definitely want to use isopropyl alcohol to wipe this down before you put the seal down. Let it evaporate for a few minutes. If you get any excess RTV or sealant or whatever you're using anywhere else, you can also just wipe that down with isopropyl alcohol. Really nice to have all this masked off. So I got a little excess here. I'll just wipe it off pretty easy. This stuff does take a little bit of time to cure, so you have plenty of time to get this off any surface you got this on. And if you need to later, you can either use plastic scraper or isopropyl alcohol to get it off. But as we're coming this way, just pull it just a little bit so it's a little tighter around the corners. Just using a little bit of weight to get this down, a little bit of tension. Come around this corner. We're at the last section here. So I had already cut this once to get the general size, but now I want to make sure it's a little tighter. So I'm going to get to right here and see how much gap I have over it. If you have any areas that are coming up in the corners, like right here, probably going to have an issue right where this seam is, because the other corners are tight enough, they're all one piece. But now, squeezing this together just a little bit, this is the trickiest part of this. If it's too tight, it wants to pull it up over the top. So you want to give yourself enough room. Don't cut too much off, because you'll actually have to fill this in with some sealant. So right here we have our finishing point, which is certainly the hardest point. You want to make sure you get this spot on, nice flat cut. So I'm just going to give myself a little extra room on this. You're going to cut with a razor, and when you get the kit, you actually have a lot more room than this. I probably took about 5 or so inches off of this before, so this is my second cut in this piece. But essentially, if you go like this, put it onto the glass, press straight down with a razor, get a nice clean cut. Don't do that and get the sealant on your buddy's car. And then, last second, you're going to press the edges together, get a nice flat seal. You can see the corners are lifting. What you want to do is just put some weight and some tape down on it, because it's the only way to get this thing on there. You can do this however you'd like, but I'm certainly going to use some more isopropyl and clean the surfaces real quick. Try not to get it in the areas where it has to seal. But I'm going to get this around the corners and on the seal so I can tape this down, put some weight on it. It's not going to come up on me. I have a certain tape I'd like to use, which I did not provide because it's kind of hard to get, but it basically just doesn't damage your paint. So if you can get just a couple pieces on the corners and hold this down just like that. Press pretty good as you're going. Right here where the edges meet, make sure there's no debris there. Tape that down also. But right here, while it's down, press down, put the tape on, without any tape in the corners so far. Just basically the tension from that side keeps this pretty tight. So I'm going to go around and just tape the corners on this and then a few down the sides. So this is the whole roof seal installed, all brand new everything. I'm going to leave this tape on it overnight for sure. I'm also going to weigh the corners down just a little bit to make sure the edges don't rise. Just going to put this gently right on the corner of the seal. This way it keeps it from rising a bit. Go around, check all the areas, make sure it's all set. Because at this point I think it's starting to cure, which is good. Once again, thank you. Can't thank you enough for buying this, especially if you're all the way across the world. This took a lot of time with a lot of people to get right. Please let me know if you have any issues or just good feedback. Also check out RidiumWorks.com for new merch and new part drops.